Awesome. So just so everyone knows, as you know, the lay of the land tonight, hopefully at the bottom of that webinar bar, yeah, you have a chat feature. Lisa already found that. That's great. There's also a
that has been turned off. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah, it's the Q&A.
Then you'll have the Q&A. So the Q&A is just like the chat. That's where tonight, as I'm talking and Jeff's talking, blast off your questions. What makes these events great is we're happy to answer all your questions live, dive into all the nitty-gritty details. So make sure to use that and use it frequently. If you have a lot of questions, we look forward to them. All right, we'll give everyone one more minute. We'll get started here, 6:03. I guess just to test that feature out, where are people joining us from tonight? Go ahead in that Q&A and let us know. Where are you?
Ooh, we have Sarasota, Florida, moving to Maine in 2 weeks. That's Adam. That's awesome.
Great.
We have Concord, New Hampshire, Newmarket, Ontario, East Hampton, Mass. We've done homes there. Old Orchard Beach.
We'll be seeing you in a bit, John.
Sturbridge, Mass.
All right, yeah, we got more people joining as well. Awesome. Well, that's great. So a good geographic blend here. So for those of you who don't know, we should just do some quick introductions. Avril, do you want to start?
Yeah, so I'm Avril Williams. I am the person behind all the social media. If you follow us on Instagram or Facebook, I am also the person who is in control of the newsletter that comes out, and these events being hosted, both virtual events and in person. So if you get these, get our emails, or if you message on social media, then I'm the person you'll be talking to. And are we doing round robin here?
Sure.
All right. Let's see.
Yeah, you want to go?
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, so my name is Jeff Bowman. I am the Maine Small Home Advisor. So if you are in Maine or looking to build in Maine, I am going to be your advisor along your journey. So I will normally be doing your feasibility study, giving you that information, working with you all the way through construction, design, construction, and when you get your certificate of occupancy and beyond. We're here for you the whole time. So
awesome. And I'm Tim O'Reilly. I do the same job as Jeff, but here in Massachusetts. So if you're in Massachusetts tonight and you have questions, you'll be hearing from me. I'll be the one, just like Jeff, research your town, your rules, and carry you through the whole process of design, feasibility, dealing with the town, and construction. Yeah. So we're really excited to show you guys the square tonight. It's a 790 square foot, 2-bedroom design with a lot of great features. It's one that I worked on with the homeowner who now lives on Cape Cod, and she's super happy. So we'll take a look tonight. The general format, we'll look at the floor plans. So we'll hop right into how do we work through that design phase, sort of what were those materials we're working with. And then we'll take a look at the Matterport. We'll do the 3D walkthrough. How did it look? How did it turn out? How do we compare the two? And then since it's finished, I have some photos as well. We just had a couple more people join. So before we dive in, I just want to reiterate that Q&A button on the bottom of your Zoom bar. That's the way to interact with us tonight. And these events are great when people have a lot of questions. So please don't hesitate to blast those off as we're rolling. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started.
And I just put Tim and Jeff's contact info in the chat that hopefully you'll all be able to see. I may have put it in there twice, but just so you all have it.
Awesome.
Right.
So Jeff, you wanna walk us through this process of
Yeah.
doing the design?
Yeah, let's do it. So starting with the design, generally during the feasibility study and just interacting with you, the customer, we kind of get an idea of what it is you're looking to build, who you're looking to build it for, and we build around what your needs are. So in this instance, it looks like they wanted to have one main bedroom and then another office area. Must have fit their needs. Nice full-size kitchen with a good size living room slash open space to the dining room. So that's just my interpretation off of looking at this. I didn't deal with these customers, but that seems to be what I'm picking up for what they needed here. So yeah, this is how close was I, Chris? Tim?
Yeah, you're spot on.
Yeah.
So that this woman, she was downsizing from a condo, and this is her retirement home. And so she wanted to have her bedroom with all her things, but then an office, so she could have all her books and her desk and sort of maintain this office space as she went into retirement. I was actually just here the other day, and we were talking about the space and how she's liking it and moving in. And we talked a lot about this open concept kitchen living room. And she was saying, comparing to where she was coming from to this house now, even though the space square footage wise was about the same, it feels super open and really better suits her needs. And she's really happy. So
Right.
as we walked through that initial design phase, and you'll see this in a lot of our designs, is to make that space feel bigger is having long views. So in this case, the two boxes of the square, it's going to feel a lot bigger than the square footage number on paper. And a lot of that has to do with windows and window placement. So in her case, the road was up here at the top of our screen near the kitchen. So that small kitchen window gives her some nice light, but also a lot of privacy. And so her long views here are into the backyard. We see that too with the full light door. But then she also has this really bright eating space in her kitchen.
Great.
Yeah, and a big consideration for her too, beyond the office, was having storage where she needed it. So she knew she wanted a linen closet and a utility closet. And the great thing about that square design is these marriage walls, which are in the middle of our house here, give us a lot of flexibility of planning storage. So we'll really notice is along almost this whole marriage wall, except the passageway here to the bedroom and the office, is storage. So she had her small spaces for stuff she accesses often, her oversized, this is honestly one of the bigger closets we've ever built here in the bedroom with two sets of double doors, and then her office, a ton of storage as well. And this gave her flexibility. As she was downsizing and moving into retirement, she knew there were certain furniture pieces she wanted that we included here, like the desk, the file cabinet, and the bookshelf. But she also had plenty of space if she wanted to rearrange and, maybe put the file cabinet in the closet, or, do some sort of closet system to fit her needs as they changed. Great. And then the bathroom. So in her case, or when we're designing and thinking about small homes, square footage, it's easy to hone in on, especially as you're out there in the internet looking at various plans. But when it comes to bathrooms and these smaller spaces, we're really put on our accessibility cap. So this is a relatively small bathroom, but as we designed it, we wanted to make sure it had the functionality of being able to maneuver well around the toilet into the shower. And so it's not shown here, but she's got a good size diameter circle here. If she ever, had some mobility issues, she could still easily navigate this bathroom. And then her laundry's right there as well. She wanted the larger vanity, 36-inch vanity, because she knew she liked to have some things around the sink, plug in your toothbrush, etc. So we're able to accommodate all that in a pretty small, which is great. Like we talked about with sort of privacies from the road, the design consideration here as well was, what's the privacy of the space on this side of the house? So we had some smaller windows. Again, it makes the room feel bigger to bring light in from multiple walls, but she was also able to maintain her privacy there. Any questions as we're looking at our floor plans? Oh, we lost Jeff. I think he lost his internet,
Yeah,
but he'll be back.
here he comes.
Great. So this is how we work through here. And then let's zoom in on the kitchen. In her case, she knew she wanted to have flexibility. She wanted to be able to eat at a table, but also be able to eat at the counter and be able to host. So we designed this peninsula and with that in mind. It gave her the flexibility to add stools, have plenty of prep space to be able to host while in the kitchen, but also have a small space, if you have someone over for dinner, to put 2 or 3 chairs around here and eat a meal. And then in terms of her appliances, she wanted the full size fridge, the full size range, and a great selection she made. She loves it is her 18-inch dishwasher. They're a little bit more pricey, but for one person or 2 people, it gets everything done, and we're able to fit that in this kitchen layout. So I'm excited to show you as we do the walkthrough how this was done in the design phase and how it turned out in real life.
Yeah, it's a nice full-size kitchen there.
Yeah, she packed a lot in.
Yeah, that's great. I can tell that she prioritized that.
Exactly. When also in that design phase, through our 3D CAD program, we're able to shoot out these renders. She was a great example of, downsizing into retirement, going from a larger space to the smaller space. There was a lot of dialogue and conversation about how to make that work. What's the space going to feel like? Is my furniture going to fit? But we worked through all that in the design phase. As you see on, in 2D, we can put the furniture there, but it's really helpful in 3D to export these renders and see, okay, this is what my table is going to look like, my passageway between the peninsula. This is this long view I'm going to have with my living room out into the backyard and into a garden. And then likewise, looking the other way in the kitchen of having a nice bright eating space, but then some privacy from the road as well. So we were able to do this, have that conversation and dialogue as we're doing the design. Cool.
We did have a question of where is the washer and dryer, and are pocket doors an option?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in this design, she wanted to have the washer dryer in the bathroom space. So we were able to fit that there. Some people don't prefer that. And in that case, in the square, we're either able to fit it near this marriage wall, or you can also sometimes have it tucked into a closet, whether that be in the bedroom or be in an office, or, if both are bedrooms, maybe put it in the guest bedroom closet. What was the second part?
And are pocket doors an option?
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, the square you did you guys do pocket doors?
We did not do any pocket doors. They wanted to just have normal swing doors, and they didn't want to have the one door that they could have put it on that we talked about was the bathroom door, but that was a door that they wanted to make sure they had plenty of privacy. The pocket doors sometimes don't allow as much privacy as a full swing door. It's not as tight of a seal. So that we didn't, but we had opportunities to do it.
Yeah, that was a similar conversation we had, thinking of doing a pocket door in the bathroom or a pocket door into the bedrooms. We ended up going with swing doors, but they can absolutely fit. Design wise, engineering wise, we have to fit a little bit thicker of a wall, but it's totally possible. So in this case, you could do a slider into a bedroom, you could do a slider into the bathroom. And then closet door wise, you could do these pass by sliding doors. You could also do swing doors. So both work. Yeah, it's a great question.
I have a customer right now out in Booth Bay, Maine, and they're doing, I think we have 5 pocket doors in their square. So all of their bedrooms are accessed through the marriage wall. I think we have 3 on the marriage wall, 1 in the bathroom, and another one in another mudroom. So they like pocket doors, so we're able to put a bunch in for them.
And do you recommend 36-inch doors for handicap use?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we can do the full 36. We could also do there's increments of 2 inches. So it really depends on what your needs are now and long term and what you're thinking. And then design wise, we can make those tweaks and changes to fit the 3.0 door, the 36-inch door, or do a 2.8 or a 2.10. Yeah. All right. Well, this is all the 2D stuff, the stuff we chew through and design. And it's always really exciting to go capture the Matterport and take a look at the finished product. So let's do that. All right.
Cool.
So let's start in that kitchen. So we obviously had the 3D renders. We had our 2D plans, and this is how it turned out. Let me get another look here.
This looks great.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So the road is right over there, and working not with the house, with the site plan, we're able to save a lot of vegetation there. So again, maintaining privacy to the road. But Jeff, you hit the nail on the head. She prioritized having this kitchen space, and that peninsula turned out great.
It really did.
Yeah, she decided initially to not have bar stools, so she has some additional storage here. And with her overhang, she was able to fit in, her cookbooks and her liquor stash. This is that 18-inch dishwasher I was talking about. It allowed her to get an extra base cabinet in here, which she really loved. She picked her own appliances. A good example here is some people choose to have the space saver, the microwave up here, but she wanted to go with the vent hood and would sacrifice some counter space to fit the microwave in. But it looks great in the corner there. These are our ceiling height cabinets. So you'll notice they go all the way to the top. You have options when you do kitchens, not only, the colors, the cabinets, what doors, etc. you want, but do you want them to go all the way up to the ceiling, or do you want a gap between the top and the ceiling?
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty standard finish work for us. So Marilat is our cabinet supplier. We do doll tile for tile backsplashes. These are quartz countertops, which are standard. Some people also do laminate, and that works well. Also, yeah, any questions on the kitchen?
I have a question for you, Tim. Did you guys decide to put the 2 pendants over this bar? Was that a talk you had with the customer?
Yeah. So sort of the end of our design process, we get into the electrical engineering, the electrical diagram, and she wanted to have 2 pendants here. And so just looking at where stools might be, how many people you might fit here, the length of this counter, we ended up going with 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be the same thing if it was a peninsula or you wanted to have an island. You could choose to have pendant lighting, or our sort of standard everywhere is recessed puck lights like we see here.
Great.
Other side of that island is all cabinets and drawers. Because I know some people put the microwave down there too as an option.
Yeah, let's see if I got one here.
Instead of on the countertop.
Yep, so she's got a ton of storage.
Oh yeah.
This whole island is packed full of storage.
Great.
She went with here, this is her trash cabinet. So as she's maneuvering in that kitchen, it's sort of always accessible, whether you're over by the sink or over here in the peninsula. She's got that really deep corner cabinet. I think she went with the spinning corner cabinet. Some people prefer shelves. There's a bunch of different options there. The cabinet catalog's intimidating. It's like 200 pages. So there, Jeff, yeah, the look on your face says it all. There's a lot of choices.
Are green cabinets one of the options?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different colors. So we have, through our cabinet manufacturer, a ton of samples. So you basically go down this path of painted cabinets, of which there's a ton of colors, or stained, and then sort of down both of those routes. It's what's the wood and what do you want the door face to look like?
Mhm.
And then,
Yep.
They're also wondering, can the cabinet on top of the refrigerator be made larger to avoid that gap above the fridge?
yep, yeah. So there's both cabinet options and then in her case, fridge options. So yep, this gap, you can either bring that down or bring the fridge up. But in this case, it was storage for other things.
And is the fridge and stove / oven full size?
Yes, so the stove is 30-inch, and I believe this is 30-inch as well. She had the ability to go 30 or 33. And then yeah, the 18-inch dishwasher, and then she picked out the smaller counter size microwave. But that's a great point. So we'll, in that design phase, have the right spaces and sizes for you. And then we have our clients go and pick out their own appliances. So typically when we're designing, just keep that in the back of your mind. You'll go get your own appliances. Those will get delivered and hooked up by whoever you get them from. And that way you maintain any warranties you have through the appliance store. And they also have the correct technicians to come fix things if there's any issues.
And then the last question is just, could you go over the minimum and max square footage for a home?
Yeah. The minimum we're sort of building is right around 500 square feet. Some are a little bit smaller, some are a little bit bigger. That's typically our S line, where we're fitting everything in one box. You still get sort of an open concept kitchen living room, but we also fit the bedroom and bathroom in that. So that's on the lower end. And then on the higher end, some of the bigger houses around 1,300 square feet. If people are doing garages or any other things like that, the square footage number can be bigger, but in terms of houses and living spaces, that's sort of our range. So around 500 and then up to, 1,300 square feet.
And what about with the square specifically? Is there a min or max?
Yeah. So with the square, we're working with these two box sizes. The smaller ones we've done are around 600 square feet. And the square can get pretty big. This one is 790 square feet, so just under 800. But we're doing some as well that are closer to 1,000.
We have
Yeah.
lots of floor questions.
Oh, all right.
All right, so we'll start with, is that particular floor hardwood or laminate, and is it standard?
Yeah, so this floor, the client picked out, this is the LVP, the laminate, the luxury vinyl plank. Yeah, so this is the one that she picked out. Jeff and I both have sample bins that weigh, I don't know, 80 pounds or more. So we have flooring samples, cabinets, counters, etc. So when we were looking at materials, we kept all these in mind. So what are you going to see throughout the floor? What are you going to see for the cabinets, counters, and backsplash? Where do those pair? Where do those contrast? And then in her mind as well, knowing what color she wanted to paint the house, and then along with her furniture. So she made this choice. It's throughout the whole house, and then she chose some tile for the bathroom. But our standard, we're seeing most people do a luxury vinyl plank, but some people are also doing, a pre-finished hardwood floor. Yep.
And then what is the floor register at the end of the counter?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in new energy efficient homes, they're very airtight. So the envelope on the outside, building code is pushing us all towards making sure there's not a lot of air leakage of air going in or going out. So when you do that, you're required to have a mechanical ventilation. So my analogy is it's like the lungs. It's breathing for the house. And what these floor registers are going to this machine. It's called an energy recovery ventilator, or an ERV. But again, think about it like the lungs. It's taking in fresh air from the outside. It's conditioning it so the air isn't mixing, but it's transferring any energy in the air, so like heat, into that fresh air, and then it's exhausting stale air from the inside.
Great. And
That's in this case in the floor. In our crawl space, you could also have that up in the ceiling, and both work.
Valerie was wondering if that was if we use heat pumps, and that's what it was related to.
Yeah, so here up on the wall, it blends right in, is this mini split heat pump head. So that is what we're doing. Our homes are heated and cooled by all electric with that mini split. In this case, she has a head in each room. So there's one head here, which does the kitchen and living room. It's sized a little bit bigger. It has a little more power. But then there's one in each bedroom. So whether you're in this space or you're in the bedroom or the office, you can climate control those individual zones. Right. And then that ERV has ducts to different parts of the house. So it's doing its job in tandem while our mini splits are heating and cooling.
Great. If you want to move forward too, then we can answer some more questions in a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, so, the other thing here is she knew what furniture she wanted in here and the layout of her room. These are those great big double sets of windows and the full light door, where her backyard is open. It gets great light throughout the day. You can sort of see that garden, and it makes this living room feel huge. So she's got plenty of seating. She's got a pull-out couch here, so when she has guests, she has a place for them to stay. And then she's ready to host. In her case, she wanted a fan. So we spec'd in that electrical engineering diagram places for fans. And then she went out and picked those out, and we had the electrician install them. Awesome.
We lost Jeff again, but he'll be back, I'm sure.
He'll be back. Great. So we're now in that transition between the two boxes. It's not a lot of floor square footage. But here's where she has both her utility closets for linens and other things. And then straight on here is the bathroom. So this is that floor tile she picked. She chose full-size washer and dryer, which fit in there great. And then when we turn around, she's got her sink, her medicine cabinet. She was able to fit in a little extra storage in the furniture space. And then she's got her shower. So everything she needs is here. She's got a glass shower door. And again, thinking about privacy when we were designing, we knew this is sort of a wooded private area. She's got a nice big oak tree here. But like you see, she can leave the windows open and get some great airflow through the house. So a fairly small bathroom, but it feels bigger than it is. We carried that quartz countertop in here. And then she's got that 36-inch base cabinet. So she's got drawers for storage, and then that cavity for storage as well. So a compact bathroom, but it suits her needs.
And you had talked a little bit about the heating and cooling. Are mini splits an option in this specific design?
Yep. Yeah, mini splits are available in all our designs. So there's the heads on the wall, like we'll see here. Like these heads on the wall. That's one format you see. Sometimes you can get those ducted in the floor. It's a little bit more tricky. It does cost a little bit more too. And then there are a couple other versions. Some are like a baseboard unit. So it's like a block that sits on the floor, and others can be recessed into the ceiling.
And how is the bathroom heated in this unit since it has the heads on the wall?
Yeah, so these mini splits are able to heat our volume of air very comfortably. So the bathroom in this case doesn't have any additional heating or cooling. Some people, if they want to, it's really comes down to budget if you want to do any floor heating. I zoomed right by this, but we hid pretty well. This is that electrical panel. So if she ever needs to access the breakers or anything in there, it's covered by this nice cabinet door. But utility wise, everything is very accessible. So here's her office with her file cabinet, her desk, and her bookshelf, everything all fitting in here nicely. And then that huge oversized closet. So she's able to fit everything in here. And then knowing that this one was along the road, that's why we put the office in front there.
I know we've already gone past the living room area, but can you vault the ceiling in a square?
Yeah, so in that design phase, we're doing design, engineering, and pricing all at the same time. So if we want to do a vault, there's a couple ways to do it. We can do what we're calling a cathedral ceiling. So instead of a standard 8 foot, it goes from 8 feet up to 9 feet 8. And that really opens the space up. That's one option. You could also do a full vault, which a couple of our houses have done, where we're taking that drywall and instead of going from 8 to 9 foot 8, we're going all the way up to the roof deck. It involves upgraded insulation, on-site drywall and electrical, and then a lot of finish work. So cost-wise, that's the most costly. The cathedral ceiling is a way to bring that up and have an interior pitch, or these 8-foot ceilings as well. Along that line too, I encourage people to come see one of these houses with this standard 8-foot ceiling and the ways we're designing in these small spaces. It feels big. So the vault obviously makes it feel way bigger. But yeah, hope that answers that question.
And for 500 square feet or even slightly smaller, what design path would you recommend?
Yeah, so when we get around that 500 square feet, we're really looking at the S line, which is one box. That really maximizes the efficiency of our construction methods and allows us hopefully to streamline the design phase, get through production in the factory, and then deliver it quickly on site. But 500 square feet, yeah, the S line's the way to go. Like I said earlier, that smaller square is about 600 square feet. And we go from one box to 2 boxes.
Mm-hmm. We had built or designed a home that was 550 up here in Brunswick, actually, and it was a boomerang model. So it was 2 boxes, but it was a nice small footprint. It was 28 on either long side. It turned out really nice, the design, and we're still working on it. So you can still do the S line or the boomerang if you want that model. There was only a slight cost difference between to go from the S line to the boomerang, and the boomerang is nice because it can break up the just the rectangular shape. It's more of an L shape.
Yeah, it's such a good point, and it's also site dependent. What's your site? What's your backyard? What shape is going to work best for you? Awesome. So here's her bedroom. She fit everything in she wanted, her nightstands, her table here to have plants, and then all the wall space for art that she had planned out from the beginning.
Great.
These are our standard windows. In this case, she wanted to have that traditional New England look with the grids. But this is our standard finish in here with trim, doors, door hardware. She went for the bronze look here throughout the house, which I think is great. But you have a lot of options when it comes to finishes and colors. But obviously the key in that design phase is making sure everything's going to fit. You're going to have the storage where you need it.
I love our windowsills, how thick our windowsills are. I feel like we get that compliment a lot, and I agree. They're so nice to have. What is it, 7 1/4 inch windowsills there? Yeah,
and that's the benefit of 2x6 construction. So our houses, I sort of alluded to it earlier. We're meeting all energy code, and if you're in Massachusetts, there's mass save rebates that you can get for our houses being so energy efficient. We have our insulated concrete form foundation. Then our house is insulated with fiberglass, and then exterior foam insulation. And then upstairs, we're blowing in R60 of cellulose. So I do get that question a lot too, is on the outside or upstairs, we have this big roof space, and is that accessible for storage? Generally speaking, unless you do something like the full vault, that's going to be that pivotal insulation space, so that this is going to be a cozy home.
And Grover wrote, sorry if I missed this, but is this particular model wheelchair accessible? And if not, and we wanted this exact design, do you anticipate the square footage growing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this one, with a couple tweaks, could be wheelchair accessible. We would need to work on that bathroom and make this more accessible, give some more square footage there. And then, yep, just make sure that you'd be able to navigate both of these spaces. But generally speaking, besides the bathroom here, everything's very accessible. There's little design things, like maybe instead of a stackable washer dryer, we do side by side, so you can access both of those. And then just make sure we have a larger diameter circle here to make sure you can navigate around the shower and the toilet and the vanity. And then we just want to make sure, thinking about what furniture you're going to have in here, that you'll be able to get where you need to go, in and out of bed, have the storage where you need it, and make sure those things work. But our design team has designed fully ADA compliant houses, and sort of everything in between. So our team has that knowledge of working with a small space and getting everything in there. Yeah.
For highway travel, are you limited to 14-foot sections wide on highways?
Yeah, so DOT has a couple different standards. If we're, what is it, 13.6, yeah, 14 feet. 13.6 would be our box, and then we have some roof overhang, 14. If we're less than that, we're not an oversized load. The next size up would be 16 feet wide. That is an oversized load. There's a bit of a jump there in terms of cost, but design-wise, we can do that as well.
Great.
Yeah, we've done some 16-foot wide homes up here in Maine, so that's definitely feasible.
Yeah, and the square is a neat one to do that too, where instead of being as long, we could work with those widths to be wide.
Great. We just had one more question for now. Can you do a 2-car garage with an ADU above, but with stairs indoors and single sloped roof with a shorter wall on bedroom bathroom end? Or do you need to have the normal peak trusses?
Yeah, great question. So we've absolutely built ADUs above 2-car garages. It is possible. You can do an interior staircase or an exterior staircase. If you do it on the inside, we just want to be cognizant of the layout, because the staircase does, sort of eat into the square footage. You want to make sure it's accessible and functional. And then in terms of doing a monoplane roof, that would be possible. We build in our factory, in terms of just thinking about that construction and any pony walls. It's just as cost effective to do a full second story height there, and have 8-foot walls. If you wanted to drop one wall down, it counterintuitively can be a little bit more expensive, just given our construction methodology. But yeah, all those are possible. You just work with the design team and your home advisor to figure out all those details and make sure it fits your needs.
Great.
All right. I'm wondering, what did I forget? Doors, windows. Let's see if I took an outside photo. I didn't. I don't know if anyone caught on our floor plans what we had the entryway here outside being, but it's a gorgeous portico built by our carpenter Tommy, who builds these porticos in his garage. We joke it's his factory, and then comes and assembles them on site.
Cool.
But yeah, I think we've hit a lot of it. Pick your own paint colors, that design phase going from paper to real life. We're getting it right at that early stage so that when it shows up, it fits everything you need.
Yeah, I like that she's got the ceiling fan in the living room. That's a nice touch.
Yep, and those are great. They have a remote, so she can have her remote. It has a light on it. She can be across the room and yeah, be more comfortable. And in her case, she doesn't use the mini split as much for cooling, so she's got the windows open and the fans cranking, and it's summer on Cape Cod. It's great.
Great.
We
So,
forgot a big one.
what do we forget?
Foundations.
Yeah, Jeff, do you want to talk about our foundation?
Yes, I can. So we typically do, we use insulated concrete forms, ICF. We do a shallow crawl space with a slab. So it's an 18-inch, typically it's an 18-inch crawl space. With that slab that's going to be completely moisture resistant. We pour concrete, they use less concrete. They perform better and are more insulated than a traditional slab or traditional full basement or crawl space. And I feel like everything about them is just a win and better than a traditional method.
Yeah, and we can look at a couple photos of this one. The photos really help wrap your head around it. But yeah, it's effective. We don't see it in these photos, but in this case, the access to that is in that closet here. So there's a hatch on the floor. It doesn't affect her ability to use storage in there. But if you ever needed to get down in there, it's possible, and it stays nice and cool. So when these are under construction in the summer, it's actually a nice place to be. And same in the winter. When it's really cold outside, the crawl space is nice and cozy.
That being said, we have had a lot of people do full basements too as an option.
Yep, and we're actually doing one right now where just with the grade and the slope on site, we worked with our engineering team to do 3 courses of ICF. So she's got about a 4-foot crawl space underneath because of the grade change, and she'll be able to use that for storing her, outdoor furniture and other things. You still got to hunch over and crawl through there, but she's got some extra storage space.
Yeah. I know up here in Maine, we've built some walkout basements, which are nice daylight basements where they have a door and windows. And then we have another one in Portland right now that is, it's accessed through, it's actually an L shape, but it's the access point is through the living area, and it's not a walkout. It's just a full basement down there that he's going to end up finishing out at a later date, I think next year or the year after. So he's going to put another bedroom and things like that down there.
Yeah, and we figure all that out during the design phase. We'll figure out all the details in the design phase, but really it starts with the feasibility study, where we come and do that site visit and start brainstorming ideas and what's going to work best for your lot, for your design path, and then ultimately your needs. All right, so somewhere here, this is the finished photo from the outside. This is that huge open, nice backyard. She's got her garden going. But again, this is that living room space. We're able to save some key trees around the house. So as you can see here in the heat of summer, she's got some nice shade on the house, but still has a bunch of light streaming in. She's got her private back bedroom. And what else do we have here? This is from the front. So this is that portico that we were talking about. She wanted a covered entry, and this is the way we're able to do it. So there's traditional deck framing here. She picked out what decking she wants. And then this is Tommy's portico, our carpenter. He made this in his shop. We brought it to site and assembled, merged it with the roof, and got it all on there.
Looks great.
So a really unique feature here. And in this case, this is cedar. So we worked with her to pick her finish, and that's what she went with.
Great.
Looks great.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were gonna show some pictures of the foundation. Were you gonna pull those up or
Yeah, let me go grab those here. I have the full,
change topics on you?
no worries. So here's an ICF foundation. The blue is the foam block. So it's got insulation on the inside, insulation on the outside. We were inside between those two. This is where we put our structural rebar. And then this is Kevin, one of our guys in Mass here. And he is finished floating. This is the slab in that crawl space. And then the concrete is in those ICF blocks where our house is going to sit.
Yeah. Yeah, the insulation goes on the outside. That's what you were going to say, weren't you, Tim?
Totally. Yeah, you beat me to it. This is this wing insulation. So the key of this foundation is we're able to not do a lot of digging, keep it very shallow. And that's because we have this wing of insulation that is preventing any frost from coming under our foundation. What this will get, what we don't see, is a foundation drain. So around the whole perimeter here, there's going to be drainage pipe and drainage stone and filter fabric. And that way, any water or moisture that's accumulating there around the edge of the house is going to get carried away, either to a dry well or to daylight, depending on the site. But this is pretty typical in terms of how much digging we're doing. So we have our materials sort of on site. We haven't dug very deep. In this case, we really just have to dig about 3 or 4 feet past our footprint of our actual house, which helps keep our site work scope smaller and thus more cost effective, while still maintaining, structural integrity. It's like 40,000 pounds of concrete or something. So people look at that and say, hey, it's going to float away. But it won't. And then being super bomber insulated.
I did put a link to, if anyone is interested in more info about our foundations, to our blog that's all about our specific foundation design too. So that's in the chat if you want that. And then what is the difference in energy use between a mini split for cooling and a ceiling fan running at full speed? Because I know we mentioned there was a ceiling fan in there too.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know off the top of my head, but we'll definitely be able to get some empirical data as the energy bills come back. So through our design process, if you're in Massachusetts, we're required to do what they call a HERS rating for the house. And so that's in the design phase, we're projecting the energy usage. And that is then verified when the house arrives and is all finished. And then we also work with our homeowners. We like to ask them for those energy bills to compare. Hey, when we're projecting 12 months beforehand, and now, okay, 12 months after you're in, how are we doing? And how close are we? What might drive change? So in this case, we'll hopefully get that bill and look at it and say, okay, you're not really running your AC. The AC is projected to use this much energy. But let's actually look at that bill and empirically see what's going on. But in general, yeah, they're very energy efficient. Yeah. So for those of you that follow us on social media, this is a set day. The house parts arrive. It's put on the foundation. We support that marriage wall. And yeah, then our crew is off to the races, raising the roof, finishing the siding, and doing the interior work.
Yeah, we've gotten pretty efficient at this.
Yeah, we got it down to science. We actually, for those of you that joined earlier, we were chatting about a set that happened today in Maine. And we also had a set yesterday in Massachusetts. So 2 days, 2 sets. And the way we're able to do that is by having this really dialed in design process. So we know everything that we're doing. We have it all ready, manufactured, super precise, and then we're able to put it all together.
Yeah. And we have Austin.
Yeah.
And our engineer is brilliant. Yeah, a great team. We have a construction team up in Maine, a construction team in Mass. I'm in Mass in terms of doing small home design, and Jeff is doing the same in Maine.
We're open for questions too, if anyone has any. There's one question I'm shocked we haven't heard yet. Might be a record.
Yeah, well, let me pull that up here.
Yeah.
I lost. Just thinking about this process and how it works. Jeff and I both talked about the feasibility. That's where we come out and do a site visit, see what's going on, hear your ideas, and really try to get a sense for how the whole thing is going to come together. And so what that is it's background zoning research. It's also doing utility research, grading, all that sort of stuff.
So now we're getting all the answers. Price, question mark, did you share it, total cost?
Yeah, exactly. So that feasibility is sort of step one. And the goal in that feasibility is to get you a project cost, hopefully within 5 or 10%. So we take all the things into consideration: site work, how much digging are we going to do? Do you need to do a couple more courses of foundation? Do you want a full basement? Where's power? Where's water? Are we connecting to public? Are we doing a septic? We're trying to flush out all these unknowns so that we can really get you a sense of what is possible and what's it going to cost. In that design phase, we then tackle kind of getting into the nitty-gritty details. So contact the power company and actually make that plan. Here's how we're going to get power. Same with the other utilities, and then work on the design. What's our footprint going to be? What's the kitchen going to be like? What furniture is coming in here? Are we doing an accessible bathroom layout? Are we doing a full ADA layout? We really flesh the whole thing out, like you saw on paper here tonight. And while we're doing that, we're getting the engineering done for the house. So that way, again, like set day runs flawlessly because it's all engineered really well, super tight. And then also pricing. So, how big are we? What are our features? Are we doing quartz countertops? Are we doing laminate? So to getting through all those details to flush those out. And then, what all permitting is required? Is it by right? Are we doing special permits? Do we need to do a septic design? Figuring all that stuff out. And we're at the end of that going to come to our fixed price construction contract, which is, this is what we're building. This is how we're going to permit it. And this is the cost. So in this case, this 790 square, bigger kitchen, things like that. It was around 270 for the house. And then in her case, she did have to do a new septic, which on Cape Cod was fairly costly. So her total project cost was more around 300. But again, you hear those two prices. Septic and site work is what really drove things up in this case. So that's why at that feasibility stage, we're trying to figure those things out so we can hone things in. But generally,
sorry, can you tie into an existing septic system if the sizing allows? So that kind of
it's a really nuanced answer. The short answer is yes. The longer answer is it really depends on the Board of Health. Are you in any special districts that are going to require any additional, oversight for that connection? Typically, the answer is yes. And then, working here both in Mass and also Maine, there's rule differences there. So I can't speak to Maine. Jeff's the expert up there. But if you're in Mass, it'll depend. Part of that too is the age of the system, how old it is, and things like that.
Yeah, what the material is. I would say in Maine, they're a little more easygoing than in Mass, and we're able to get septics added on like that more easily. But it does depend on how old it is, how far away it might be from the ADU, what it's made of, a lot of different factors. But yes, you can. We just need to dig into it a little bit more.
Exactly. Cool. So at the end of that design phase, we credit half of that $5,000 retainer towards your new house. And then the way we're able to structure the construction contract, we only need 10% up front, and the rest of that money, the other 90%, you really only need once we start working. So a big part of this design phase as well is figuring out financing. There's a bunch of different options out there. Are there any rebate programs we're going to be doing? Is there another house sale, or is there a line of credit, or, figure out how we're going to make it all happen. And then we'll structure construction around that as well. But the nice thing about our process is we sort of lower the barriers to entry as we go through all these three things. So the feasibility gives you a really close estimate of where you're going to be for relatively cheap. And then that design retainer, you're really only spending the bare minimum to do all those designs if you're building. If you don't build with us, any of this retainer we don't spend, we return to you. And then there's also the materials you get, like the site plan and all that. And then when we move on to construction, I'm a broken record, but we just take 10% and the rest of it we figure out later.
Yeah, because someone messaged recently on social media, worried that doing a feasibility study put them into contract in some way or tied them to building with us. So to clarify that, it's not.
Yeah. And our goal there is that it doesn't tie you down to anything. We want to give you that roadmap, whether you build with us or you build with someone else, or, whether you build tomorrow or whether you build in 5 years, what's possible. Because that's the big thing about ADUs is as towns are changing these rules, these are becoming possible. But it's not just on paper with zoning bylaws. It's what are local regulations, what are building code, what is on your site. And we try to give you sort of that 60,000 foot view. But yeah,
non-binding for sure.
Yeah. And we often see, like, I'm working with some clients now, and they did a feasibility 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so it's the kind of thing is, it's a big project to build an ADU, but to sort of have these bite-sized chunks where you can gather information, get a little bit more, go into that design phase, flesh out a lot of things, and then, ultimately, hopefully build. But yeah.
Amy was wondering, when is that $600 due? Is that at the time of our first meeting?
Yeah, so our sort of process before the feasibility is we're happy to take a look at, shoot us an email. We'll look at your property. We'll do a quick zoning background research, and then hop on a Zoom call and sort of chat, answer your questions. And that's all, before you schedule feasibility. That I find is super helpful to, hear what your needs are, and then do that preliminary zoning research to make sure, hey, this is possible. The feasibility will come and do the site visit, and then we send a electronic invoice that you can pay through that, and we'll deliver the site sketch, a report, and then we meet with you on Zoom to answer all your questions and go over the whole thing. So, yeah.
We also have some utility related questions. Have you ever used a central heat pump for the air filtration?
Yeah, that technology exists. We haven't used it. We work with our energy rater, and he's the one who sort of keeps his ear to the ground about all the technologies that are out there. We're actually now looking to do those ERVs that are go through the wall. So they're, instead of having any ducting in the crawl space or ducting upstairs, they're very simple units that are more cost effective to install, and then also easier to access. So no, short answer is no. Long answer is not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
And if you need well water, where would the storage tank be placed?
Jeff, have you done any recently that have those?
Yep, we have. What we ended up doing was we did a second course of the ICF. So instead of the 18-inch crawl space, we did it 36-inch, and we were able to put the storage tank and the pump, all of that, water equipment for the well down in that crawl space. And they also are using it for storage as well, honestly. So the second course in Nudura of the ICF was a nice call for them.
Yeah, and I've seen it a couple times. It's sort of site dependent, whether you're going to do a little more foundation or would we might find some closet space to put it in as well. Maybe sort of create a utility closet, washer, dryer, stuff like that.
And then a little bit still on the same lines of utilities. Could you just talk a little bit about options with your home being net zero?
Totally. So every home, again, I'm sort of speaking specifically to Mass. It also applies up to Maine. I think we've actually done the most solar up in Maine on our houses, but we'll do that preliminary energy rating projection and have a sense of how much energy this house is going to use. So, you know, the mini splits, your oven, washer, dryer, everything. And then as we're planning on site, where is the house going to be situated? How are we going to orient that roof? And then making sure we're not having any plumbing penetrations where there might be solar panels. But you'd have that info of, hey, here's our design, here's our roof, here's our site plan. And then in Mass, here's our projected energy usage. And you can take that to the solar company and they are going to have everything they need to design a system so that your house will be fully net zero. But on our end, energy and insulation wise, we're super airtight and well insulated, which helps us use less energy. And in the case of Mass, meet code and exceed code. So if you want to do solar, it'll be pretty easy to be net zero.
Yeah, we build our homes up here in Maine to the same strict standards that are down in Massachusetts, which they're a little bit more stringent down there than they are up here, tighter codes. So we build the houses up here to the same standard because there's no reason not to. As well as we work with a few solar companies that we've installed a bunch of solar panels, so we can pretty easily make that connection and design accordingly.
Yeah, and fortunate for those in Mass, we're seeing our homes qualify for rebates. There's an all-electric home rebate, and we're seeing our homes get somewhere between 10 and 12,000 typically. The rebate goes up to 15,000, and that's been a real shining star for us over the past year and a half to help homeowners get that rebate. Some homeowners are taking that money and then putting solar on their house, which is great too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know off the top of your head, Tim, in East Hampton, how much space must exist between the primary home and the ADU?
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. I'll have to go look in the bylaw for what they want to see. They call that building separation. But please shoot me an email. I know my email's in the chat. If you shoot me an email, I'll have your email. I'll look that up and get you an answer.
Awesome, thank you.
East Hampton has great ADU bylaws, so
Great.
that's good to know.
Amy says, my friends are building, not started yet. Would you recommend waiting until the main house is finished, or can this be done while the other house is being built? And does it depend on size of lot and placement of ADU to the main house?
Yeah, that's a great question. I want to learn more so I can help. But sort of off the cuff here, it's helpful to sort of design in tandem. There's sort of those bigger things like accessibility, like where you're thinking of driveways and pathways, utility wise, how are those structures going to be served? Is it public water? Is it a well? Is it septic? You want to make sure as you're doing these parts of the project that the infrastructure is going to be there and ready to serve the ADU as well. So in that sense, there's a lot of synergies to planning these two together. And then in terms of like layout on the lot and with the main house, as it relates specifically to the ADU, there may be design requirements or zoning requirements in your town's bylaw. So definitely shoot me an email if you haven't already. This sounds like an email I have received. So yeah, but we'll be happy to help. Obviously it sounds like If the house is going in first, that's great. But just planning, where's that ADU going to go? How's construction access going to work? Would be important things to think about now while that other house is being built.
Yep. Yep. And if it's up here in Maine, let me know. Shoot me an email and I'd be happy to dig into that. I think there would be an advantage to building at the same time for all the reasons that Tim mentioned. If you're able to bankroll it and make it happen. So.
And another piece as well, that a question I get often is, when is an ADU and when is it a single family home? And do you guys only build ADUs? Do you build single family homes? And the answer is we build both. So if you have a piece of land, you can, our same design process, our design pathways, you can build that. The town would look at it typically just as a single family house. And then, if your town allows you to build an ADU as well, you could build two of these. One's the main house, one's an ADU. But our processes, like we talked about in that design phase, figuring out all the construction logistics and the design, it's going to be the same for whether it's a single family house or an ADU, or a multifamily. We've done those as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Great. And septic is being built to accommodate my ADU. Does it have to be attached to the main house for utilities? It would be in Sturbridge, Mass.
Great. Yeah, I think this is the email I have received. So I'll shoot you an email back. You'll want to make sure there's enough capacity for that ADU, and then it'll be going to the local Board of Health as to how they want to see that connection. And that's who we defer to, is that local authority on how they want to see that connection. The last thing I had here, was sort of running out of time. It's a little bit after 7. I know we started a little bit after 6, so we're sort of right at that hour mark. We do have our home pricing guide, which has some general prices, including our DIY shells, which you can do. The house we looked at today, or any of our design paths, is a DIY shell. But it also has in here a lot of the finishes and construction logistics, stuff that we looked at today. So if you haven't seen it already, I encourage you to go take a look at this. But pretty much all this stuff that's in this design guide we saw here tonight. So I hope it was helpful to look at our process, soup to nuts, starting at the feasibility, getting into the design work, and then building it in construction, and seeing the final product.
And do you have a link to that guide to put in the chat, or would you rather people email you to get it?
Let me see if I have a link here. I know it is available on our website.
Yeah, I just have a PDF. I don't know if I have a link.
Okay, let me see if I can find one here. Here we go. Yeah, I'll have to. Okay, if you shoot me an email, I can send you that PDF. It's going
I'll see them to keep jotting and I'll pull it up.
Perfect. Cool.
Great.
Yeah, well, I hope it's helpful. We like to do these. We don't want to sound like salespeople. We're here to help people figure out what's possible. We've built a lot of these. I think we're going on 40 or 50. So we've learned a lot along the way, and we have a lot of happy homeowners. So feel free to reach out to us at whatever stage you're at. If your ADUs are totally new, we'll be happy to do some of that initial research and let you think about what's possible. Or like this example you're just talking about, if you're sort of along the process and the ADU is the right solution, we'll be happy to help as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, so you can reach out to us on social media. If you want to reach Jeff up in Maine, his email is in the chat, and my email, if for those of you in Massachusetts, is in here. Someone here tonight was from Ontario. We're not in Ontario, at least not yet. But if you have any ADU questions or want to see some floor plans or other things, don't hesitate to reach us as well.
I'm also covering part of New Hampshire as well. And I get inquiries from Vermont, and I got some feasibility studies that are happening in New Hampshire coming up in the next month or two. So those out there in New Hampshire, let us know what you're thinking.
Yeah, it's a good point. ADU bylaws are changing all across New England. So if you're sort of out of our current zone and bylaws are changing and you're thinking about ADUs, we'll be happy to give you a consult to help you get started and thinking about what's possible. Again, even if we may not be able to build for you. Sweet. Anything else? I think we covered mostly everything.
Got him.
Yeah, thanks for again, the question and answers makes for a lively evening. So thank you everyone for participating. We hope we answered all your questions, and we hope to be in touch.
If everyone emails either Tim, if you're in Massachusetts, and Jeff, if you're in Maine, they will get that to you quicker than I'm gonna be able to pull it up here. So that's probably the best way to go about it too.
Yeah, lesson learned. Maybe we'll put it in the next newsletter.
There you go.
So that way it'll be super handy. All right. Have a good evening, everyone. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night.